It's my pleasure to introduce to you today a local author. This is Tom Diamond. Tom Diamond is a friend of so many of us, and we were really surprised when he came up with a beautiful and marvelous book telling us things about him we never knew. Hello, Tom. It's so wonderful to have you here.
Nice to be here. Very good.
Tom, to tell our listening audience where you came from.
Well, I came originally from Greece. I was born not too far from Piraeus, so of course close to Athens. There's an island which is very famous. They call it Hydra. It's close to Piraeus, and I was born not too far from there. And then after the war came along, or Civil War and World War II, we had to move from that place with my father and my mother and the rest of my sisters. And we moved to another place which our grandfather left for 3 brothers. My family, my father's family was 3 brothers. And one of them was a monk, the other one couldn't have any children. I'm the only one of the Diamond generation.
I read your book, and I found it was heart-wrenching to experience what you went through, being invaded twice in your own country.
That's right, yeah, twice, Civil War and World War II. It was not easy to really digest the whole thing. I mean, it was horrible. It was burning houses and killing people, and then the World War II came along, and there was another terrifying, time. But what we went through, we lost everything after my father was so wealthy, and we wanted to buy a ranch with oranges and so forth. But when the money devaluated, we had nothing, so we had to move on to the house where my grandfather left us.
The remarkable thing I really loved about reading your book in those trying times is your courage, your strength, your ability to look forward to tomorrow and accept tomorrow and not concentrate on yesterday.
That's right.
That was such a powerful message. And that's the title of your book, basically, What Tomorrow Brings, right?
Yes, and the reason I adapted because my mother asked my father, we have to do this tomorrow, we're going to get this tomorrow. And my father used to say, wait till tomorrow. And I adapted that from my father, but he did not use the what tomorrow brings, but he says, wait till tomorrow. And gradually and eventually, he went through me and used that expression, what tomorrow brings.
When you left Greece, you had to leave your entire family, didn't you?
Yes, I did. It wasn't easy, but times that we didn't have nothing hardly to almost eat, and we had to go and hunt for things to work for just for a meal, after we lost everything, my father lost everything. So it wasn't easy, but when we had an opportunity to go to another place, my sister decided to go first in Canada. We had some friends, they owned a restaurant, but at that time, most everybody in Greece, they had the opportunity to go anywhere, in the United States, Canada, or Australia. So we chose to go to Canada because we had some friends from my hometown. My sister went there first, and then later on she invited me, and I went there to Calgary, Canada.
So then you ended up in Canada, and then you came to the United States.
Yes, I ended up in Canada, in Calgary, and then after that I ended up in Duline. I went to work up in Duline, as you see in the book, and to support my family, and also it was a better pay job. So after that, I enjoy Canada. Canada was a nice country. And I had a lot of opportunities there too.
You didn't admit that you are an absolutely fantastic, marvelous chef.
Oh, well, I tried to be anyway, yes.
Try to be.
I'm glad that,
It's been the foundation of your livelihood. You're famous.
That's true. I've been in the restaurant business and hotels for 50 years.
Yes, you have.
And a restaurant owner, yes.
And you fell back on that from the very beginning. You were thinking you were going to do something else, but
yeah, I was supposed to be a mechanic. Yeah, in Greece, I was doing mechanic work in Greece as a young man, and I did several things I saw in my book, you know. But when I came to Canada, I fell. When I was in Canada, I felt like I fell into the restaurant business. So then I continue on and on, you know, and continue my work. Yeah.
you did a marvelous job of picking up the restaurant business every time you needed to make a move. You turned to that natural ability and talent that you have absolutely always been so good at.
Right.
And I don't think you yourself even realized that when you wrote that book.
Yeah, perhaps not. I let others judge, you know.
You seemed amazed that you were still in the restaurant business, and yet it was a gift that you had completely.
That's right. That's why I call it a gift, you know.
A gift.
It's not my ability, it's somebody else's ability, it's superpower.
Well, when you talk about being a mechanic fixes things and puts things together.
Right.
You didn't realize that you were sort of a food mechanic.
That's right. I was doing the same thing. Yeah.
You were, except that you were making it delicious and palatable every day.
Yes.
Beautiful job.
Thank you.
You had heart-rendering stories about leaving your family and loved ones in Greece. Tell us how that made you feel.
Well, it did, at that time, you know, when you're young, you don't realize everything is an adventure to you, you know, and I didn't realize that I would really be hurting as much as I did after I left. Because my family and all the friends and relatives, it was a different world for me, you know, to come to Canada. But I found some individuals, I mean, from Greece, and then it was comfortable. But it was adventure, but also it was different. I don't know how to describe it. But
it took a lot of courage.
It did, yes. I did a lot of things, and I went on and on and on. I tried to learn the language and tried to do the best I can. Yeah.
Well, you've not only learned the language, now you're an author in it.
Right, yeah. Well, thanks to my editor, too. You know, he did a wonderful job.
Yeah, I'm sure
He's
that
a very talented man, yes.
You're very kind. Of course, he did a wonderful job.
Yeah.
However, you provided that material in
Yes,
English.
yes.
You did.
Yes.
You did. Your family had some serious, serious challenges. Please tell us a little about them.
My father, he worked in the fields. After he lost everything, his wealth, as I say, he was working in the mines, and where I was born in the other town. After we moved to where my father left the house. But he was working in the fields, and he was doing all kinds of work he can find. And then I was doing the same thing. I was working for a mill. I was, in a way, I was loading trucks and delivering walnuts, delivering chestnuts, potatoes, all over the half the country anyway. Even sleep in a truck sometimes when we had to travel for days. And my uncle, he was a monk, my father's brother. And he was a monk in the monastery all his life. And I guess he must enjoy it. And he actually did until the day he passed away. My other uncle, he lived next to us. He had no children, but I was the only one of my father's family. And they all wanted me to stay there. And that's kind of hurts, you know. They wanted to stay in Greece because I was the only generation of diamond generation. But since I chose to leave, I don't know what else to what could I do? Then I chose to go to Canada.
Tom, did you meet your wife in Greece?
Right, I met her in the United States, in Spokane, Washington. I was introduced by a friend, and we started getting together, and all of a sudden, after one thing lead to another, and we got married. And afterwards, we got married. We expected a child. And then a friend of mine, he's the one, actually, he brought me to California, as he did from Calgary to Great Falls, Montana. He was asking me if I wanted to come to Great Falls, Montana, because there's a job, and they want me to run the restaurant. And after that, he went to Spokane, and then he told me that I can have a good job in the hotel, which was the Sahara Hotel. And of course, I jumped from one place to another. But anyway, after we moved to California, and my wife was expecting a child. But as I have my book, said in my book that I discovered that she's going to have more than one child. And I was telling the doctor, and the doctor kind of got upset with me. So when she had, of course, the child, there were two lovely boys, John and James.
So you knew before the doctor did?
Yes, I did, yeah. And I just telling the doctor, and the doctor says, he got upset. He says, well, he says, you my boy, you know better than you.
But you knew in your heart, you just knew.
Yes, I did, yeah.
So you had beautiful twin boys.
Yes. Yeah. One of my son, John, the firstborn son, he got killed in Redding, California.
Please tell our audience how old John was when he got killed.
Yeah, John was 24, yeah. And then, of course, my son lays up in McLeod now, and it wasn't very easy. I traveled back and forth to Redding after when my son Jason, the third son we had, he told me that Johnny was in an accident, and I was working in Tirumada, England, as a chef in Arqueta, and then I was traveling back and forth to Redding for 3 weeks until he passed away. And we had a funeral in December that year in McLeod, California, close to Mount Shasta.
Yes, I know where that is.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful place.
Yes, it is. And later on, of course, we had another son, Jason, who, my son Jason, unfortunately, he passed away. He had a bad heart, and that's another sad thing. In the meantime, in between my son John and my son Jason, my son James, he was married. He had a daughter, and his daughter, unfortunately, he got killed almost in the same place where my first son John was injured and died at Redding, California, between Redding and Anderson.
Was she killed in an accident?
Yeah, she was in an accident. She and also my son John. So they are very sad times and hard times we've been through. I'm sure his and their mother too.
Losing a child, even one child, is one of the most difficult things you can possibly go through because it's not normal. We expect our children to live beyond us.
That's right, yes, we do.
And when you wrote about the losses and the deaths in your family, your children, your sons, your granddaughter, every time you wrote them, you finalized your chapter with an optimism and acceptance about tomorrow, what tomorrow brings.
Right, yes.
And of course that is the title of your book. But when I read your book, I felt closer to you than I had ever felt knowing you, and I've known you for a while.
Right.
I felt like I understood your heart and your pain as a parent. Yet, I didn't totally because I've never lost a child. And no one can know what that really feels like until they go through it.
That's true.
But the empathy that I felt for you, and that we all felt for you when we read your book, really came across. You touched us, Tom. You really touched us.
Thank you very much.
You did.
Yeah, also my father passed away, my other sister, and I have a sister left only, but my mother, she had a hard time when I was living in Greece. They told me that when I took the bus to go to Athens and Piraeus, take the boat, come to Canada, she collapsed, and she hardly recovered after that. She ended up having heart problem, and eventually she had Parkinson's disease. So it was another sad situation, and I planned to go to see her and one time, and unfortunately they wrote me later that she already passed away.
So your heart was broken again,
absolutely, yes.
And a whole ocean between you.
That's right, yeah. Very, very, very sad. And later on my father passed away, so here I am with one son who lives in Weed, California, and we meet sometimes in Redding, halfway, or I go up there and also go to the graveyard, put some flowers for the boys and my granddaughter.
When you say, here I am, I want to say, yes, you are, and an inspiration to all of us. Because here you are, in the face of that, telling us to concentrate on what tomorrow brings and to make the best of it and to live this life as a gift, each and every part of it. And that's the message that came across. So when you tell me this in the midst of your heartache, and you say, here I am. Here you are, Tom. Wonderful, warm, human, compassionate, caring, inspirational. I loved your book.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, thank you very much. And I hope everybody enjoys the book. I have a lot of compliments and people that call me and tell me they enjoy the book.
You've had a great editor.
Yes, I did.
And you brought him here today.
Yes.
And what is his name?
His name is Father Lawrence from the St. Innocent Church in Eureka on F Street. He's a very talented man, and I must give credit to him. Without him, I could not do the book.
I would like to have him sit in this seat and join you in the rest of this interview. May I?
Certainly.
Thank you.
Well, hello, Tom. Thank you for allowing me to be a part of this wonderful moment. It was even different to hear it with questions by somebody else, because we spent so much time, you and I, going over the stories, and yet even today I felt something different. So it was wonderful that we would be meeting at the church office faithfully, like friends, every Tuesday for coffee, and of course for your wonderful Greek cookies.
Oh, yes.
My boys were there. I have 2 boys. And after a while, they nicknamed you Cookie Man, which is a wonderful title. But also, which I think is very sweet, they often call you Papuli. What does that mean?
It means grandfather.
It means grandfather, because even though, out of respect, he calls me Father Lawrence, he is a father figure to me. Well, in the story that he wrote, that I helped put together, he tells how he was running around with a priest back in Greece to funerals and unctions, and so I think it's wonderful that even my boys have this Papuli relationship with you. And so we decided, in many ways, I shared with him another story, which is that my own grandfather never wrote his story. I told him, Tom, my grandfather went through the same events almost, World War II, and he never wanted to share it or write it down. And the loss for me was great, and I told Tom about it. Let's sit down, you tell me the story, and I type it for you, I'll scan the photos, and we'll get a book out. And that was about 2 years ago, wasn't it?
Or about, yes, almost 2 years. Very long. We meet him twice a week sometimes, or
Yeah.
maybe once a week, yeah.
Tom was asking me, when do you think we can finish this work? And I said, in June. It was wonderful because he would tell me the story, and I would basically type it as is, and then I would read it back to him, make a few changes, and so it was really his story. And there's so many things in this book that I myself discovered. For example, when he mentioned that he sensed that he was having twins, and how, and in life he had this intuitive personality when he was responding that there were earthquakes, and there's like a spiritual story there, and little miracles along the way. Maybe you can share one little miracle that
Well, the
gave you
miracles
strength.
I've mentioned in the book a couple of three miracles. When I was very sick in Greece one time, and I was actually dying as far as I'm concerned, and they were around my bed praying for me, and all of a sudden, I found myself above in my bed somewhere in beautiful white clouds. And as I was floating around, I see below my mother and other ladies and other individuals praying. And I heard a voice. It said that you'll get well, you get well, you get well. And the voice disappeared. And all of a sudden, I found myself in bed, and I was recovered almost instantly. So the other miracles are in my book too, of course, and other things about earthquakes, as you know, and I saw earthquakes and report them to I've seen all over the world, things that happen. But like I said, tomorrow I'll let things go. I'll wait till tomorrow brings, like I said in my book, that no sense go on and try to figure out what the earthquake was going to be or what's going to be tomorrow. We'll just see what tomorrow brings.
Yes, to be grateful. I think that's what he conveys, is that
Right.
when it rains, when it's foggy, and I complain, he tells me, Father Lawrence,
See,
thank God for the rain, for the fog.
Everything is, to me, is beautiful, no matter what it is.
And he has little jokes, and the book has a couple of jokes,
Yeah.
that if you're really needing a pick-me-up, there's the coffee, there's the baklava, and there's the joke. And so it's been really wonderful to do this, and also because it's interesting. The only really Greek man in our Orthodox Church, because people think, oh, it's a Greek church, but we only have one really Greek man. We have a young woman born in Greece, but she was really from British parents. So you're the Greek.
Right, yeah.
You're the Greek dancer, and it was wonderful that you arrived in Eureka, which is a Greek name, and that you helped so much establish our church, because when you live in Greece, the church is so much part of life, of it, every feast, every village, every bell ringing, and so you were a big part of bringing this Greek Orthodox tradition to Eureka, which is important.
It's a pleasure. And Father Lawrence is a very talented man. Beautiful services he has too in our church.
I just typed what you said, and it was the stories were amazing. That's why the book, I think, reflects something that few of us have completely experienced.
This is the book that Tom has written. It's a magnificent, heartwarming, touching book that'll make you think about your life, your feelings, and your direction. It's a great message, Tom. Thank you for writing it.
Thank you for having us.
Tom, why did you decide to write a book?
Well, the reason I decided to write the book, what I've been through and what others can go through too. So we always have to depend what tomorrow brings. We can't just say we're going to do this tomorrow or do that tomorrow. We have to wait until tomorrow. It's fascinating to me that many individuals, they say we're going to do this tomorrow, we're going to do that and that. But to me, I think about it, but I don't dwell on it. I just wait until tomorrow.
It's wonderful, too, that you left a legacy for your posterity. You left a legacy for your friends, but for your family. You can look back. Your son can say, this was my father.
Yes.
This is the life of my ancestors in this book. This is my history. I think every child would like to have that in some form. I think they want to know where they came from, the lessons their forefathers learned, and the trials they went through. You did a very good job.
Thank you very much.
I'm quite impressed with you because you have a book that you told him absolutely everything. You worried about the English language, but you told him everything and he wrote it down. And you told him in English, Tom.
Yes, of course.
You communicate well, very well.
Thank you. Thank you again.
And is it wrong to say on camera you sing pretty darn good too?
Sometimes, like I said in the book, you know, like to get up and sing a song, and I do gradually, and at the Moose, at the Friendship Circle with the Dean Boys Band, and I do at the Monday Club in Fortuna. I do the accordions, and so occasionally I like to do that too.
It's very fun to be out dancing and all of a sudden his beautiful voice comes across and it's very distinctive and it's very nice. I want you to know that.
Well, thank you.
We love it and we enjoy the fact that we know you and we can dance with you, and everybody that knows you feels a closeness to you. And of course I'm speaking for myself, but I've known you for a while and we have a lot of the same mutual friends. You're an asset to this community in every way, Tom. And I want to thank you for being you. You're pretty nice.
Oh, well, thank you for being here. Hey, I've been living in Eureka for, you know, almost 50 years. And I have a lot of friends, and that's why I would encourage my friends, besides my editor here, that I should write a book, because they kept asking me where I came from and what happened during the war and all that. So I did. That was something that made me write this book too. To me, it's of course history. I mean, what I went through, but others want to know. So I went on and wrote a book. My boy's mother lives up in Weed. You know, we've been kind of apart for quite a few years.
Yes.
So, or I should say my ex-wife.
Yes.
I want to make clear, you know, it's only honesty.
Yes.
But we're having a good time with the lady I'm going with now. And we're going to dancing and church and so forth, yeah.
You can pay tribute to your ex-wife for your beautiful children and the years you had that were good. And now you look forward to what tomorrow brings.
Yes, I do. Every day. Every day I look forward to what brings. Yeah.
Thank you so much for letting me do this interview. It's been an honor.
Thank you again.
Thank
been
you.
Nice to be here with you.
Thank you, Tom. We're all fans of Tom Diamond. Thank you very much.